I really screwed up big time. Yep, that's new. I don't even want to say how this happened, but I definitely have already won the Bonehead Move of the Year award, and it's only June. So I was moving that car the other day, the white Mazda, and the Camaro was here. I pulled the Mazda there, thought I had it in park, but you know, with these modern cars where you don't have a key, it's just a button. Apparently you can unknowingly shut the car off in reverse or neutral or anything, and the car doesn't even warn you. So I thought I was in park. I guess I wasn't. Turned it off, got out, and car starts rolling. I don't know if you could tell, but we have a pretty good slope in this driveway. It starts rolling towards the street. So I jump back in to hit the brake, and while doing so, slammed that door into this door. So now I've got a situation. Not only is it a major ding, but I've chipped it. So I contacted a paintless dent guy that I've used before, and he's very good. So he's going to let me know what the estimate's going to be. And in the meantime, I'm going to start taking the door panel off, because that's going to help him out getting behind there. And as far as the chip, I might, try to touch it up. Worst case scenario, if that looks terrible, I had always thought about getting the body color moldings, and that would go right along and cover that if need be. So we'll see how it turns out. Panel is off, which is pretty easy on these. So you just have to have Torx bits. You need what do we have here? T30. That's for the armrest. There's 3 screws for the armrest. And then you have this thing, which is a little tricky. I always forget how to do it. But you've only got reals. They all look like Torx screws, but the only real ones are on this edge. And then there's a little cover here in the middle that you pry off. And then there's 1 screw behind there. And then you just have to wiggle out the handle and the lock. You just have to wiggle it off of the rod. So, waiting to hear back from my guy on a price and what the deal is with that. And hopefully we can get this taken care of, because this makes me sick to look at. To remove the rest of the panel, you just have all these plastic little clips, and I have this trim removal tool. You just get that in there, get it behind it, and you just pry it out, and it pops right out. In addition to the door ding, a few other things went wrong while the Camaro was sitting over the past few weeks. So if you had seen any of my previous videos that I did with refurbishing the engine compartment, and I had changed the cooling fan switch to try to have the fan come on at a lower temperature. On these cars, it's run by a temperature sensor that screws right into the head and goes directly to the fan relay. So I think I had done about maybe 3, 4, 5 different switches. Nothing would really work. I finally found one, I think it was from eBay, that was working correctly. Well, a month later now, you turn on the key, fan just comes right on. So I checked the wiring. It's not shorted to ground or anything. It's definitely the sensor has grounded out. So I got to deal with that again. Probably going to end up with the original stock turn on switch back in there, because nothing else works right. Nothing aftermarket. And also the AC wasn't working, but at least the fan blower motor was working, so you could get vent. That quit also, so I got to check what's going on with that. Again, that's something I had previously dealt with, changed out the blower motor a couple of winters ago. It's always something with the Camaro. It never gives up on giving me trouble. Just noticed some weirdness with the, as I had mentioned, the vent wasn't working, so, and as you can hear, the cooling fan went off, so I put it onto vent, nothing happens. I put it onto norm, nothing happening. A minute ago, this controller might be bad, because when I was putting it into the AC section, the blower was blowing, but then when I got to vent or heater, it wasn't. And now nothing's happening and the cooling fan's off. Normally when you put the AC on, the cooling fan will come on. I'm a little confused here. I'm gonna have to look into this a little bit further. Alright, I think I may have found a clue as to what the problem is. So I have the factory manual, which I've used so many times on this car for electrical issues. Really good to have. So when the switch is on, when you put it on max AC and you turn the fan on to high, you should have current on the purple wire going to the blower motor, and then you should have ground on the black wire. So I've noticed right away there's no ground on the black wire. This is where the relay goes, the high-speed relay. So I'm getting power at the power source, but that's when I ground it externally. When I ground it here, I'm getting nothing. So then it tells you the location of the ground. G112, rear of engine, rear of cylinder head. So then I go back here and I see a loose connection. Now this is probably my fault. When I had this all apart, when I was changing the intake and everything, I had removed some other wires. I guess I must have disconnected that one and never put it back. So I am going to see if I can put that one back. I remember putting something back in a bolt, a ground wire in the back of the cylinder head, but I must have missed that one. There must have been multiple. Getting that bolt out of the back of the head is just kind of ridiculous because the distributor's in the way, and I could be struggling with it. I could be struggling with it for hours, so I ended up just putting it in the intake bolt for now. That should be good enough. Now I'm getting ground on the black wire. This should be good now too. It's not. Okay, and this one is good too. So next is we're gonna just plug everything back in and it should work. Okay. Alright, now everything makes sense. When you turn it onto air conditioning, the cooling fan comes on. When you turn it onto vent or heater, the fan goes off like it should. So I think that one issue solved all of the problems I was having with the cooling fan and the blower. I guess what was happening was, since it had been working, that little ground loop wire must have been just resting on something and grounding, and then it came off, and that's when things started going haywire. So can't really knock the Camaro for that one. Totally my fault. And yeah, just having this and knowing how everything was supposed to work and where the components were helped figure everything out. So, all right. We can close the chapter on that, and then hopefully soon we'll get this dent taken care of. So I had gotten this AC to work a couple of summers ago, I think. And at the time I put in a new compressor and I changed out all the O-rings on all the connections, the lines, new orifice tube, and you know, it worked for a few weeks, and then it was getting warmer and warmer, and then it just quit. So obviously there's a problem. I thought maybe it leaked out, but also I'm looking at this orifice filter here, and it's pretty clogged up with debris, which, you know, it's not a great sign. I don't think that should happen. But I got a new one, and some people recommended going with this orange one, which that's the part number. I believe it's out of a Ford, and supposedly works better with when you use the 134 refrigerant in these cars, because they originally came with the R12, and that's what this tube in here is designed for. I don't know if it's maybe it's a smaller internal passage than this has. I'm not really sure, but whatever, we're gonna give it a try, charge it back up, and we'll see what happens. In case you were wondering, the orifice tube resides in here. So what you do is you undo this nut and that screw and that nut, and you remove this short pipe, and then you go in. I use this needle nose. You go in the tube because it's pushed back in about an inch or so. You go in there, you grab it, pull it out, and then you install it in this direction. It goes right back in like that. So I've got that one in there. I've got the short pipe back in. Now, a lot of people have very strong opinions about working on AC systems in cars. There's a right way to do it. I don't do it that way. I do it the way I do it, and I've mostly had very good success doing it my way. So I keep doing it my way. If I run into a problem, then I'll deal with it. I don't have a flushing system. I don't have an evacuation system. I estimate how much goes in based on ounces and weight. So, and I also don't have a professional or dedicated vacuum pump. I'll show you what I have. I have this. It operates on compressed air. So you just hook your air compressor to it, and this is what I use to vacuum the system down. And you know, last time I did this, I vacuumed it down for whatever they recommend, 20-30 minutes, and then I even let it sit for 2 days, and I put I had the gauges on it. Did not lose any vacuum at all. So why I had a leak? If I had a leak, I'm not really sure. Maybe this is the problem. Maybe it's clogged. Maybe there's the compressor shot. Who knows? We're gonna find out though. So I'm gonna vacuum this down and then charge it up. I ran out of time yesterday, so it's the next morning. So now I'm ready to charge. So it says for the R12, 3 pounds. I don't have R12. And I think what you do with the R34 is you put about 75% of the amount. So it would be 48 ounces for R12. So these are 12-ounce cans, so we're gonna do 3 of these cans instead of 4. I think that would be 75%. So I have my little can tapper. This goes here. This goes to the yellow. And we're gonna start it up. Start filling it up. Here it's starting to cycle. As it fills, it'll cycle on and off less and less. Today's a good day to charge. It's about 80 degrees out. Three cans are in. It's blowing cold. We're gonna check the temperature. Yeah, nice and cold. Let's see what the probe says. Oh. Feels cold, but it's saying about 50 degrees, a little above. Really want to try to get it down to that green area. Around 40. Might need a little more refrigerant. Also, maybe moving with some airflow might help. But it's cold. It feels cold. Maybe just could be a little bit colder. The blue scale is for R134, and the red, it's the inner scale. The outer scale is for R12. Looks good to me. So just a couple of things to note when you're doing this. The blue goes to the low pressure side, which is on the accumulator. The red goes to the high pressure side. And on the valve set, you want to keep the red side always closed, righty-tighty. You're just reading the gauge, you're not opening that line. You use the blue side, the low pressure side, and what happens is when this hose is connected to the can, when you open this valve, it's allowing the refrigerant to flow through into the low pressure side. You want to turn the AC on max in the car and put the fan on medium or high, whatever. It'll work. When you're done, you want to make sure you shut all the valves off. And when you disconnect, you get a little bit of pressure sneaking out. So I use the gloves. That stuff is really cold. You don't want to get it directly on your skin. It could burn. After about probably 4 different fan temperature switch things to try to lower the cooling fan turn on temperature, I had to go back to the original because this latest one was working. I think it was from eBay or Amazon. I don't know. They're all the same. They're all junk. It was coming on early and everything was working for about a few weeks or a month or whatever, and then it just quit. Does not turn on at all. So I had to put the stock high turn on temperature switch back in and hopefully be done with that saga once and for all. I just want to drive this thing. You know, it's always something.